Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. Well, today is going to be the Packers 7-round mock draft day, and we're going to be doing, as I said, we're going to go through all of your mocks. I do think because just ripping through one mock like I had planned, which is kind of grab this guy's first round, this guy's second round kind of thing, because that would probably go too fast, I want to I don't want to say go through all of them, but just kind of look at some of the different options, some of the different thought processes that went on. And also, finally, the other thing that I would like to do, and you can let me know what you thought was best. Grok 3 just dropped. These AI companies are coming out fast and furious, and the next one is always better than the last one, so this is the new top one. I've just barely been playing with it. Apparently, it's not really ready. They're going to be improving it a lot over the next weeks, months, whatever. But I still would like to try it and have it do a Packers 7-round mock, and we'll kind of compare and contrast, as well as allowing it to kind of help me sort through some of the picks that were made. So I just had somebody drop one on the Twitters here. This is BBZ. So we'll add that to the mocks. So we got that one. Beer Cheese dropped a couple of mock drafts. Packers Superfan dropped a mock. And then we got a bunch in the comments. We got Justin, Eric, Jeff, Jeb, Drew, Josh, Eric again, and Garrett. So be interesting to kind of go through these and see what all we got. But without further ado, why don't we go ahead and get into it. So I'm trying to think the best way to go about this. I guess we'll just start and see who picked what. This is actually a pretty good place to start because I haven't really talked a lot about this guy, and that is Jalen Walker. Justin has the first mock here with Jalen Walker. Jim doesn't like it, said it's not going to happen with Walker. This is mock draft 101. You do a mock draft, and then somebody is obligated to comment. That guy won't make it there. It's just, it has to happen. It's not a real mock draft unless somebody comments that this guy will not fall to that spot. It has to happen. Jalen Walker is kind of an interesting prospect because he is sort of the Micah Parsons of this draft. He is a inside linebacker, kind of, that is expected to be a pass rusher. He is, quote-unquote, undersized, 6'2", 245, right? So it's kind of a weird hybrid tweener thing. I saw an argument on social media talking about how Jalen Walker doesn't have the production, and it's kind of absurd. He has 34 pressures and 7 sacks, and it's like, right, but he only had 195 pass rush attempts because he played primarily as an inside linebacker. And not surprisingly, as an inside linebacker, he had a 62 run defense grade and an 84 pass rush grade and a 67 coverage. So his primary attribute is pass rush. Now, it's a lot easier to pass rush as an inside linebacker. We've talked about this. The numbers are significantly higher. So it's very hard to kind of project out for him, but a lot of people are very, very excited about him. I would assume most people see him as a outside linebacker, being 6'2", 245, who has played as a stand-up outside linebacker, as opposed to a down defensive end. Grok has him as a 3-4 outside linebacker and says that teams needing a pure stack linebacker or traditional 4-3 edge may hesitate due to his size and rawness in certain areas. It does go on to say it gave him an 8.2 out of 10 and called him a high-end day 1, early day 2. Projection is late first round to early second round, which would put him in our range, says picks 20 to 40 range. NFL comps, Bruce Irvin, athletic undersized edge with blitzing upside, meets Jamie Collins, versatile linebacker with pass rush juice. Did a really good job. I had it do a scouting report based on the Beast draft guide. It did a pretty good job. I've done it with some of the other AI And it usually struggles with the first part with the whole family background thing. We won't go through all that stuff, but I'm just pointing it out. Did a pretty good job. So, I mean, I would just say that I would bet this would not be at the top of the Packers list due to the size thing, but I could be wrong. I think Micah Parsons probably proved a lot of people wrong, or maybe prove people wrong isn't necessarily the best way to put it, has changed people's thoughts, which might be for the better or for the worse. Some people might say this is the next Micah Parsons, not realizing there is one Micah Parsons, and that shouldn't be the mold. Justin, by the way, put on here, high-end, somewhat developmental edge prospect drops, and Goot can't help himself. Interestingly enough, Eric John Anderson in the Facebook group also put Jalen Walker, linebacker out of Georgia, as the first pick. Nobody else seemed to put him there. All right, what else we got here? Another less popular pick, Jeff Cole, put round 1 Cam Williams, tackle out of Texas. Size, athleticism, and raw talent. If we think the Packers' O-line coaches are good, here is a great lump of clay to mold into a bookend tackle. I guess that is kind of a question. I liked our offensive line coaches better before they became our offensive coordinator. Not to say Butkus is doing a bad job, but I tend to put more of the success on Gutekunst than anybody else, largely because name me an offensive lineman that got better. I think some of the guys like Zach Tom are just good. Elton Jenkins is good and certainly didn't get better. If anything, he got a little worse. We're struggling to get him to consistently stay at where we've seen him at the top. Rashid, I don't know that he necessarily improved. I think he just surprised us with how good he was. Josh Myers got worse. Sean Ryan maybe a little bit is improving, but not a ton. So, I don't know. It is worth noting Cam Williams is seen, first of all, 6'5", 335. He's a massive human being. He has played up to 370 pounds and is seen as a right tackle. But absolute physical freak. I think the lump of clay thing is a good way to put it. Very long arms, massive frame, surprising mobility for his size. There's a note here that says, dominated Michigan's pass rushers in week 2, anchoring like a brick wall. Punches with force, moves bodies in the run game, finishes blocks. I mean, you certainly getting me excited with the guy. And if we think Zach Tom can go to the left side, I wouldn't hate it. I would hate to mess with Zach Tom because he's in a good spot, but if he's just a good tackle and we can move him to the left side and get a guy like this to just tear it up on the right side, a frickin' mauler. Listen, I'm skeptical of the offensive line thing mostly because I'm being a coward, right? I think you all know that. My concern is we're wasting picks on guys that are probably not going to be better than the guys that we already have. The only guys that I think are relatively easily upgradable are center and right guard, and Jordan Morgan will be our right guard, I think, going into next year because he has to be. He was a first-round pick. And so we're really just looking to upgrade a center. Maybe we move Elton Jenkins to center, and then, again, we're just looking for a guard. The tackle thing throws me off a little bit just because as much as I know Rashid can be upgraded because he's a terrible run blocker, I'm just iffy. But, you know, when you start reading some of this stuff and you start thinking about these massive 335-pound guys that can just throw people around, I don't know. I would be interested to know your thoughts a little bit more, Jeff, in terms of did you view him as a right tackle, and then we would move Zach Tom. I know Zach Tom could move inside. I would hate to waste his abilities when he's one of the best tackles in all of football. But, I mean, if he can bring those talents to the left side, then it's a done deal. He is seen as a guy with sort of a little bit raw. He's a young guy, but he's got a sky-high ceiling. The problem being very, very raw, and I think most Packer fans are going to hear that and say, heck no, I'm tired of the raw, developmental guy. He's got some sloppy techniques, 16 penalties in 2024, 4 of those against Michigan. Footwork and balance issues, 16 career starts only. 33rd team says he has technical warts. Some wonder if he's a better guard than tackle, which, again, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. We've got guard needs, right? I mean, again, maybe Morgan plays left tackle. Maybe Morgan plays guard and we move somebody into center. If this dude can play right guard, maybe, could possibly be a thing. If he has that versatility, it makes it more appealing. just because we're not stuck on he has to be our right guard or this was a bad pick. That's the thing that would scare me. Bleacher Report called him a high-level backup and potential starter, which is a little bit scary, although Sports Illustrated call him a future household name. I don't believe anybody else made that pick. Another somewhat popular pick here is defensive tackle Derek Harmon. Jeb Plant had us taking Derek Harmon. He said the best way to disrupt the pass is pressure right in the quarterback's face, and Harmon is the best at that. Drew Domalik also had Derek Harmon, says he's a disruptive 3-tech that is climbing up boards with great size. PFF gave him an 83.9 grade and 43 hurries, which shows up on tape. He's mostly been productive for 1 year, but it seems like Oregon unlocked him. He transferred from Michigan State, where he was 320 pounds, dropped down to 310 with Oregon, and we badly need a dominant 3-tech. So Harmon is extremely popular and for good reason. We need pass rush. We need defensive tackle help. It makes a lot of sense. Everybody's kind of focused on edge. However, I think the sort of perfect dream 1-2 punch that a lot of people are envisioning that I certainly could get behind is go get a Khalil Mack or go get a Max Crosby and then get a Derek Harmon. You have that. Plus, Rashawn Gary continues to grow. Plus, Rashawn Gary isn't the number one anymore, so he's getting significantly less attention. Plus, you add a Derek Harmon pass rusher or something to the interior. You can start to see this thing come to life. But 6'5", 310, as you mentioned, slimmed down from, they have him at 330 at Michigan State, so a pretty significant shedding of weight, which, as you said, it makes sense that he wasn't as productive in the past because he was a bigger, more nose tackle type. They slimmed him down, treated him as a pass rusher, and helped him get after it. He's played 40 games, had 15 starts, 14 of which came in 2024. Played 14 out of 14 games, but missed the Rose Bowl versus Ohio State due to injury. 45 tackles, 10.5 for a loss, 5 sacks, 4 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles with 2 recoveries. 86.3 grade, as you mentioned, second among defensive tackles. 91.4 pass rush grade, which is number one, with a 10.7% pressure rate, which is second. He led all FBS defensive tackles with 55 pressures via PFF, second in pressures over the last 2 seasons combined. Harmon is a transfer portal success story, went from rotational guy at Michigan State to top 50 prospect at Oregon. Bleacher Report calls him a potential impact player with a 7.8 grade, while The Athletic's Dane Brugler mocks him at number 14 to the 49ers. Detroit's native stock exploded in 2024. They say he lives in the backfield, played 1-tech to 5-tech, thrives as a 3-tech, but can 2-gap as well. NFL Draft Buzz praises his scheme flexibility and explosive first step. He's got 34-inch arms and violent hands. Some of the concerns are his pressure to sack ratio, inconsistent technique, and then 3 so-so years at MSU. But again, I think most people are willing to overlook that. Seen as a late first to early second, ESPN's Jordan Reed has him number 19 overall. Tankathon 34 to the Browns. PFF number 23. Wonder where that goes. They didn't put it, but I think we know. And then it says a lot of people on social media are saying he's going top 15 if he crushes it at the combine, which is sort of the double-edged sword. You want these guys to perform well, but some of them are going to perform their way right out of our grasp. Jim Nagy says he's a huge riser, classic 3-tech compared to Leonard Williams. Top 20 lock is what Jim Nagy said. Some of the fits, they've got Steelers with the air of, replacing Cam Hayward. 49ers getting some defensive line juice, beefing up the interior for the Buffalo Bills. The Lions' hometown story, being from Detroit. Said, bottom line, Harmon's a twitched-up long-arm menace with first-round traits and second-round questions. If he tests well, like a sub-5 140, he's a day 1 pick. If not, he's a high-upside day 2 steal. Josh Taylor had us trading down and getting Donovan Ezeruaku, edge rusher from Boston College. Obviously, there's the connection there. Anybody defensively from Boston College is going to make you raise your eyebrows. I like it because it's somewhat of an uncommon pick, at least for me, and the fact that we're trading down. But he says, Philly just showed that defensive improvement, you can make big changes, so went edge at 31 with the player who had 16.5 sacks last year in college. He is 6'2", 248, so that was a Senior Bowl weigh-in, a little bit on the smaller side from Williamstown, New Jersey, so another, Jersey guy, Boston College, it all checks out. 89.7 PFF grade, 92.8 pass rush grade, 83.5 run defense grade, ACC Defensive Player of the Year, first team All-American. He's a late bloomer turned draft darling after a monster 2024 16.5 sack season. 33rd team called him the most NFL-ready pass rusher in the entire class. Strengths, they put pass rush wizard, deep bag, swim, rip, cross, chop, spin, ghost, which pairs with what they were just talking about for most NFL-ready when you got a deep bag of pass rush moves like that. Relentless motor, high production. So this is kind of the other end of the spectrum, right? There's the developmental mold pieces, and then there's what a lot of Packer fans want, which is give me a guy that's ready to play today. And this is the guy, again, potential size issues, but 250 is not terrible. There are some guys, even down defensive ends in the NFL, that can do it. Some of the knocks, undersized, again, 248 is light for the edge, lacks power to bull rush or anchor versus NFL tackles. Some of the run defense concerns, slashes gaps well, but struggles to set the edge. 1 year spike, just 2 sacks in 2023 after 8.5 in 2022. Skeptics wonder if 2024 is an outlier. Mid-second to late first chatter. PFF ranks him number 35 overall. Dane Brugler's top 100 has him ranked 30th. Tankathon has him 44 to the Steelers. Senior Bowl hype could push him into round 1 in the 25 to 32 range, which is right where you had him. You had us going back to 31 to get him. Bottom line, Donovan Eziruwaku's speed rush technician with all-pro potential if he lands with a creative DC, think 3-4 outside linebacker or wide 9. His 2024 sack title and Senior Bowl buzz have him climbing, but size and power gaps mean he's a scheme-specific bet. Right now, he's a second-round lock with first-round upside. Teams needing edge juice are circling. So, appreciate that. Haven't had a deep look into that guy. Another pick here. I'll try to speed through this. Is taking longer than I thought, but we'll try to hurry this up. Maybe we'll just be looking at a lot of first-round stuff. I don't know. Maybe do first 3 rounds or something. Another popular pick, guy that I mentioned that I am pretty excited about, Eric John Anderson has him, Mr. Walter Nolan. He says at pick 30, we take Nolan, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. Easy enough to understand, a high IQ defensive tackle with crazy athleticism. Also had Garrett Stritzel. Take Nolan, number 1, says obvious choice to improve the D-line. Nolan, 6'4", somewhere between 290 and 300 pounds, slimmed down from 325. We kind of went over this. A lot of these guys have done that when he was with Texas A&M. Senior Bowl weigh-in, obviously lower. He is a junior, played 35 games, 23 starts. He did play in the Gator Bowl despite having been declared for the draft. 48 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks, 3 pass breakups, 2 fumble recoveries, 85.9 PFF grade, number 8 defensive tackle, 87.2 pass rush grade, ranked 5th, 55 pressures, which ties for 3rd. Consensus All-American First Team All-SEC Outland Trophy finalist. Nolan's a former number 1 recruit in 2022, which I had mentioned before. I feel like Gutekunst loves that stuff. Finally cashed in on his hype at Ole Miss after quiet Texas A&M stint. ESPN's Mel Kiper Jr. has him number 17 overall. Bleacher Report scouting crew ranks him number 2 defensive tackle. Strengths, they have explosive freak, twitchy first step, rare bend for a big man. Versatile, played 0 tech to 5 tech, dominate inside but flash his defensive end upside. Pro Football Network loves his elite power capacity, which is kind of my big thing. I think he's a super powerful guy. Impact, anchored Ole Miss number 1 rush defense. I didn't know that. Senior Bowl scouts raved about his quickness and power combo. Some of the knocks, raw hands, technique spotty, wins with athleticism, not polish. His length, he has shorter arms, unconfirmed until the combine, which is coming up. That'll be a big one to keep an eye on. Keep that in our back pocket. Bleacher Report notes he struggles to finish when locked up. I don't know about that. Consistency, quiet at A&M. Is 2024 the real deal or a hot streak? Some of the fits, Cat Scratch Reader, whoever that is, has him with Carolina. Matt Miller from Sports Illustrated calls him a Flores dream for Minnesota. His comps range from Ed Oliver to Sheldon Richardson. Some of the fits, the Dolphins to pair with Sealer, 49ers. Again, there are always going to be a lot of defensive tackles there. Penetrator for Shanahan. A Vikings 3-tech chaos. Eagles, Fletcher Cox 2.0. One-gap schemes will drool over him. Fans love his Gator Bowl grit, Ole Miss legend vibes, but some say he's overrated off of 1 year. Clips of him versus Georgia fuel the hype. Walter Nolan's high motor, twitched up defensive tackle with first-round tools and a breakout 2024 that screams upside. His athleticism and power pop off the tape. He's still raw, needs some work, blah, blah, blah. Powerful, athletic, raw. That about sums it up. Similar to that, Breezy over on Twitter had at 23 Kenneth Grant. There's another guy that I kind of like. You know, again, for both of these guys, I really like them, but I've also got some questions. But Kenneth Grant is, I mean, you talk about a freak. Dude's a freak. Again, the question is the freakishness real, and can you turn that into something else? Because he's so big, you're just like, oh, he's a nose tackle, who cares? But 6'3", 339 pounds. He is a junior from Merrillville, Indiana. 41 games, 17 starts, 12 of which came in 2024. Played 12 of 12 games in 2024. Skipped the ReliaQuest Bowl to prep for the draft. Second team All Big Ten in 2023 and 2024. 2023 national champion. Grant's a hulking run stuffer with sneaky juice, riding away from Michigan's title run to a projected first-rounder. ESPN's Mel Kiper ranks him number 19 overall, number 4 defensive tackle. A lot of people suspect that when he goes off on the combine, that's really going to help his draft stock. I just saw a video yesterday of him chasing down, I think, a running back from behind. I had mentioned it when I had watched him. It's kind of shocking how fast he is for a big dude. Brick wall, 339 pounds of power, anchors versus doubles, clogs lanes. Athletic freak, sub 540 at 360 pounds is a frosh per Bruce Feldman. I don't know what that means. Oh, here we go. Chased down Penn State's Katron Allen in 2023. That must be what I was talking about. Some of the knocks: pass rush light, only 8 sacks in 3 years. Lateral limit, stiff hips, gets reached on the outside zone. Some say teammate Mason Graham made him look better. Solo impact is debated. Mid to late first rounder, PFF's number 25 overall. Tankathon has him 22 to the Chargers. Walter Football, top 20 upside. Buzz on X hints at a Trayvon Walker-esque combine bump, which we'll see how high that can put him. But yeah, I think he's probably going to fly up. Now remember, the NFL teams already know largely what he's going to do. It's more of a media bump than anything, but it'll maybe help us align more correctly the media and what the NFL teams already know. But it'll be interesting to see what people are talking about after that. And by the way, because it's expected, if he doesn't destroy the combine, he's probably going to fall quite a bit. I mean, by quite a bit, I mean he will not be a first round pick. I mean, if he's not hyper athletic, he's just a nose tackle, which means second round. Kenneth Grant's a rare blend of size, strength, and shocking burst. Think a brick house that sprints. He's a run-game eraser with enough pass rush flash to intrigue, but he's raw, not polished. A combine showing 4.940, big jumps could vault him into the top 15. Otherwise, he's a safe day one pick for a trench-hungry team. High floor, higher ceiling. All right, I tell you what, why don't we take a break? We got 3 more to go through. Maybe we'll just do the second round. I don't know. We'll figure it out, but we'll take a break. We've got 3 more first-round picks that I want to talk about, and we will continue on. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. All right, so Beer Cheese Benny put up 2 different mock drafts. His first one, he has us taking Mike Green, edge rusher out of Marshall. It's another relatively popular pick. I think it's been going down a little bit. Partially, well, number 1, people are finding other draft crushes, and number 2, he's probably starting to go and be off the board in a lot of mocks before the Packers could even take him. He's been moving up pretty rapidly. But Mike Green, edge rusher out of Marshall, is 6'4", 248 pounds, again, kind of in that 250 range. Redshirt sophomore from Williamsburg, Virginia, 25 games, 14 starts, started 13 of 13 in 2024. 84 tackles, 22.5 tackles for a loss, 17 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 2 recoveries, 92.8 PFF grade, which is the number 1 defender, 91.5 pass rush, 90.2 run defense, 63 pressures, which ranks second. Walter Camp, first-team All-American, Sun Belt Player of the Year. Green's a Group of 5 breakout who led the nation in sacks and turned heads at the Senior Bowl with a viral bull rush of Oregon's Josh Connerly Jr. ESPN's Field Yates mocks him number 15 to the Falcons. Posts on X call him a first-round lock. That seems like I shouldn't say it's a given, but it seems like a given. Strengths, explosive juice, lightning first step, elite bend, pass rush bag, cross chop, arm over hump. Scouts love his counters. And he's got a relentless motor, chases down quarterbacks, racks up coverage sacks. Some of the knocks: size tweener, 248, raises run defense flags, lacks anchor versus NFL tackles. Per the 33rd team, upper body strength needs work. Level jumps, G5 dominance, 17 sacks versus weaker offensive tackles. Can he do it versus the pros? Fantasy Pros questions gap discipline. And then 1 year pop, just 4.5 sacks in 2023. Some say 2024 is an outlier, not a trend. Hot takes and landing spots. Browns Wire sees a technical marvel for Cleveland's front. Remember, if they are moving on from their pass rusher, there's a lot of talk about Cleveland drafting a pass rusher. Sportskeeda says the Lions are going to pair him with Hutchinson. They comped him as a lighter Josh Allen, who the Jaguars took. Some other fits. Falcons as a Judon replacement. Chargers with the Bosa-Mac combo being a little bit older and Mac probably being out the door. Looking to replace or euthanize, listen to me, that. Garrett again, Lions again, and he's seen kind of as a 3-4 outside linebacker or pass rush specialist. Again, do teams see him as a down defensive end, or is he more of a stand-up outside linebacker is going to be a question. Mike Green's a speed-to-power freak with a polished pass rush arsenal. 17 sacks and Senior Bowl buzz have him screaming up boards. He's light, raw in spots, and untested versus elites, but his ceiling's sky high. A 4.5 to 4.6 40 at the combine could lock him in round 1, range 15 to 25. Otherwise, he's a day 2 steal with double-digit sack potential. I don't know if he would fall based on that, but again, it's gonna make a difference how he does at the combine. With his second mock, he had us taking Shamar Stewart, edge rusher out of Texas A&M. Stewart is the exact opposite. He's 6'6", 281 pounds, and he's apparently down from 290 plus. He is a junior from Miramar, Florida, 37 games, 19 starts, 12 of 12 in 2024, although he did sit out the Texas Bowl after he declared. 80.1 overall PFF grade, 88.9 run defense, which ranks 4th among edges, 73.2 pass rush grade, 3rd team All-SEC. Stewart's a former 5-star freak, number 1 defensive line in 2022 class, who's polarizing, modest stats, elite traits. I'm guessing that's with modest stats, but elite traits. Bleacher Report's got him at a 7.4, which is a potential starter, which is silly. Dane Brugler ranks him number 15 overall, Senior Bowl domination, including bull rush versus Oregon's Josh Connerly. Sounds like he just got picked on a lot. Freak athlete, 6'6", 281, with a rocket get-off and rare bend, moves like a 240-pounder. Run stopper, sets the edge, resets the line of scrimmage with power and length. PFF's number 4 run defense edge. Senior Bowl clips and Jadeveon Clowney comps from scouts scream top 10 potential. Some of the knocks: he has a low sack count. His hand usage can be sloppy, and is sort of seen as a tweener as far as is he an edge rusher or is he a lean interior defensive lineman, which I feel like we've done that with the Brooks Wooden thing, get these big edge rushers that are a little bit too big even though they can pull it off in college and move them inside. I suppose with this guy, though, you assume he has the athleticism to stay outside, and then it becomes scary if he can pull it off. ESPN's Mel Kiper has him as the number 3 edge. PFF mocks him number 18 to the Seahawks. The Athletic has him number 15 overall. And once again, people on X are saying he is a top 10 talent if he tests in the elite spectrum, I guess. Again, PFN called him Clowney 2.0, but bigger. Senior Bowl locked him as a round 1 prospect for most. Some of the fits: the Dolphins with Weaver's scheme, 49ers, again, defensive line beef. The Seahawks, Panthers opposite Burns. And then there's a lot of consternation, a lot of disagreement on Shamar Stewart. Is he Trayvon Walker 2.0, or is he a 4.5 sack draft bust? Shamar Stewart is a traits over production gamble, towering frame, alien burst, and a motor that pops on tape. But he's raw as hell, it says. He's a high-floor run defender with all-pro ceiling if coached up. Combine could rocket him into top 10, a la Trayvon Walker, or settle him at the number 20 to 32 range. Right now, he's a first-round wild card. Teams betting on tools. Again, this is a very, very unpopular thing among Packer fans right now, where we're going after the toolsy guys that did not produce in college. Finally, Mike Hebring, Packer superfan, had us trading down and taking Gray Zabel, North Dakota State. He said, big trade down with the Lions, pick up a 4 and a 6 this year and 4th next year. Target was Gray Zabel to play center in Green Bay. My favorite wide receiver, well, he's going to continue on with that. But all right, let's do Gray Zabel. Another really popular guy that has been skyrocketing lately. Very, very popular, great PFF metrics, et cetera, But 6'6", 316 pounds. That was his Senior Bowl weigh-in. Tackle, center, guard hybrid from Pierre, South Dakota. 62 games, 41 starts, 36 straight to end his career. Played 15 of 15 this past year, all at left tackle. 90.4 overall grade, which was the number 7 offensive lineman. 93.1 pass block grade, which ranked second with an 86.5 run block grade. 453 pass block snaps, gave up 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits, and 4 pressures, which is a 99% efficiency rating. FCS first-team All-American, 2-time national champion 2022 and 2024. Zabel's a small school stud who went from unranked recruit to Senior Bowl darling, named overall practice player of the week, poll of 32 NFL execs. ESPN's Field Yates pegs him as a late round 1 guy. Post-Mobile, Dane Brugler got him top 50, number 34 on Tankathon. Some of the strengths, obviously versatile, started at left tackle, left guard, and even center in high school, played all 5 spots at NDSU. NFL Draft Buzz calls him a Swiss Army knife. He is a pass pro beast, 1 sack allowed in 2024, dominated Colorado's Power 5 defensive line with a 90.1 PFF grade. Senior Bowl one-on-one showed hands and feet in sync. Per Yates, always finishes with an edge. And then run game mauler, leverage, and leg drive displace FCS defenders. Some clips on X versus SDSU show him moving bodies against their will. Some of the knocks, short arms, which don't matter as much if you project them inside, which most do. Raw power, not an elite bulldozer, struggles versus bull rushes. And FCS jump, obviously being a smaller school guy. Draft stock, late first to mid-second. PFF's number 3 interior offensive lineman, mock number 15 to the Falcons by Yates, number 39 to the Bears by Tankathon. Senior Bowl hype has X buzzing that he is a interior 1. Third team sees starting talent at guard or center with polish. Sports Illustrated gives him a David Edwards comp, fits his multi-positional upside. X loves his Colorado tape. Some of the fits, Bears, Vikings, Dolphins, Seahawks. Gray Zabel's a versatile, battle-tested lineman with elite pass pro skills and a nasty run-blocking streak. His Senior Bowl week turned heads, proving he can hang with the big dogs. Short arms and raw talent nudge him to guard/center, but his football IQ and athleticism scream day 1 starter potential. He's a top 50 lock, maybe top 25 if combine pops. Small school gem with big league chops. Teams needing interior offensive line juice are all over him. All right, so here's what we'll do. I had Grok go through and tell me what he thought about all of these players. So I went through and identified who our defensive coordinator is and all the different things. It says 4-3 base defense, defensive end, defensive tackle roles, prioritize disruption, zone blocking offense for LaFleur. Needs defensive end, Gary's good, but Preston's gone. Lucas Van Ness is unproven. Clark's aging. Josh Myers shaky. Gutekunst loves athletic upside. Versatile offensive lineman. All right. Jalen Walker, edge rusher out of Georgia, fit B+. Undersized for a 4-3 defensive end, but his speed and bend could work as a situational pass rusher or weak side defensive end in a sub package. Adds edge speed, Hafley could use him creatively. Odds 70%, might slip to 23 due to size concerns. Verdict, solid, but not a perfect 4-3 fit, more of a 3-4 outside linebacker. Cam Williams, tackle, fit B+. Right tackle or guard potentially bolsters the offensive line. 335-pound frame and power fit LaFleur's run game, though rawness needs time. They give it 60% odds that he will be there at 23. Says safe offensive line bet, not a pressing need, but aligns with Gutekunst's history. Derek Harmon, A+. Ideal 3-tech defensive tackle in a 4-3. His 5 sacks, 10.5 tackles for loss, 55 pressures, screen penetration, perfect for Hafley's attack front. Says why him? Clark's wingman now, successor later. Bad news, odds 50%. Combine could push him out of reach. Verdict, dream fit if available. Donovan Ezeraku, fit A. Undersized, but a Hafley disciple, 16.5 sacks. Twitchy bend, fit as a 4-3 defensive end pass rush specialist. Why him? Instant pressure threat, knows Hafley's system. Odds 65%, right in the 23% wheelhouse. Verdict, high upside, tailor-made for Green Bay. Walter Nolan, A. 3-tech terror. It does say 40% likely that he's gone by 23. Stud, but availability is iffy. Kenneth Grant, A. Nose tackle / 1-tech anchor with sneaky burst, run-stuffing brick wall, fits a 4-3 need to free linebackers. Hafley could flex him to a 3-tech as well. Plugs the middle, long-term Clark relief, 60% fit, fits in the 23 range, high floor, scheme versatile beast. Mike Green gets an A, 4-3 defensive end dream, 17 sacks, elite bend, speed to power. Hafley could weaponize him opposite Gary. Verdict says explosive gamble with huge payoff. Shamar Stewart, fit A+, perfect 4-3 defensive end, length, burst, and run-stopping chops with untapped pass rush upside. Day 1 starter opposite Gary with freak traits. 60% odds, could land at 23. Raw but built for this scheme. Gray Zabel, fit B+. Left tackle tape but short arms. Shift him to guard or center. His versatility and pass pro bolster the interior offensive line or right tackle. Myers upgrade or line depth. FCS riser, fits Goody's eye. 65% likely there at 23. Smart pick, less urgent need. His official pick, Grok's official pick, Shamar Stewart. Stewart is the best blend of fit, upside, and availability at 6'6", 281 pounds. He's a physical specimen built for the 4-3 defensive end role, long enough to set edges against the run and twitchy enough to pressure quarterbacks. His low sack count masks his disruption, and Senior Bowl buzz shows he's trending up. Opposite Gary, he'd thrive in Hafley's aggressive front, with room to grow into a double-digit sack guy. At number 23, he's realistic, mocked in the 15 to 32 range, and aligns with Gutekunst's love for high-ceiling defenders. It has as runner-ups Mike Green and then Derek Harmon. Final call, Shamar Stewart's my guy for the Packers at 23. Traits match the 4-3. He's gettable, and he fills a screaming need. Green Bay walks away with a day 1 contributor who could become a star. What do you think? All right, so there you go. All right, let's take a look at some of the second-round picks. Probably won't go quite as in-depth, but I want to take a little peek. So Breezy had Alec Ayomanor. I've mentioned before, big fan of Ayomanors. Justin had his second pick, Embo, Marcus Embo. Go watch Embo's hands, he says. Seems to have elite traits and can likely play either guard spot. Eric has Walter Nolan going in it's not in the second round, actually. It's pick 27. He obviously did some trading around. Jeff Cole took Trey Harris, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. Said Packers and a second-round wide receiver, you know it's coming. Very good route runner, nice size, above-average strength, outside receiver who is a red zone threat. I am a fan of Trey Harris. As I said before, I haven't really seen anybody echo these sentiments. In fact, most people see him as kind of slow. Go watch the guy and tell me this guy doesn't have that long, deep speed. I don't know, within, 10-yard, his 10-yard split might not be the fastest, but at 40 yards, this guy is sailing past people. Jeb had us taking Gray Zabel in the second round. Obviously, that's an easy pick if he's still floating around at that point. He says Zabel can play all positions on the field, but probably our future center. Drew Domalik has us taking JT Tuimoloau out of Ohio State, 5-star recruit out of high school. He was rated a 100 by 24/7 Sports and the second best prospect in the nation. 6'5", 269, helped Ohio State win a national championship with a ton of production. He has all the physical attributes, and Ohio State put more on his plate than they did Jack Sawyer. He played the run game honestly before pass rushing and even covered effectively. He has some amazing interceptions, can bat some balls down too. The hope would be that he can turn into a dominant pass rusher. Josh Taylor had us taking Maxwell Hairston, cornerback out of Kentucky. Eric John Anderson at pick 54, we take Trey Harris. Weird to take two players from the same team in back-to-back rounds, but the Packers hope to capitalize on the luck they have on a second-round wide receiver. Harris has the tools. Garrett has us taking Higgins. He actually has two in his description, but we'll just say Higgins because he has doubts about Dobbs' health and the wide receiver room needs some competition. Beer Cheese Benny at 54 has us taking cornerback Azaria Thomas, and then in his other mock, Jaden Higgins, wide receiver out of Iowa State. I'm getting the impression that Jaden Higgins is becoming a very popular pick. I've noticed several people going that route. In fact, I think, Mike Hebring says, my favorite wide receiver in this draft in the second round is Jaden Higgins. I mentioned before, too, with the very low drop rate, I have a feeling a lot of Packer fans are going to prioritize that as a way to kind of help out Jordan Love. All right, well, I'll tell you what, we're at about the second break mark, so why don't we go ahead and do that. I'm going to double back, and we're going to have Mr. Grok 3.0 do us a 7-round mock draft, see if we can't get to know some of these later round prospects. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. All right, boys and girls, here we go. We took a little bit of work. I made sure to pump it as full of as much information as I could to make sure that this came out correctly. But here we go. I think this is pretty good, man. I mean, whether the picks are liked or not is a separate issue, but the decent ability to rationalize, I appreciate. All right, here we go. First round, pick 23, the Green Bay Packers select James Pierce Jr., edge rusher out of Tennessee. The Packers' pass rush was a glaring weakness in 2024. They were 26th in pass rush win rate, and Hafley's 4-3 scheme thrives on aggressiveness, penetrating edge rushers. Pierce ranked 15th on the big board and is a realistic slide candidate to 23 due to team preferences for quarterback and cornerbacks ahead. At 6'5", 242 pounds with elite burst, likely a 9.5 plus RAS. He's a developmental speed rusher who paired with Rashawn Gary, allowing Lucas Van Ness to rotate or shift inside. His 2024 stats make him a high upside disruptor for Hafley's simulated pressures. As for Gutekunst's tendencies, he's a premium position SEC pedigree, young, 21 years old, athletic freak, checks every box. Gutekunst might even trade up for him, but he's available here in this scenario. Rationale says, edge is the top priority to elevate the defense against NFC North quarterbacks like Jared Goff and Jalen Hurts. Pierce's upside outweighs immediate contributors like Walter Nolan, who fits a lesser need. Round 2, pick 54, Grok selects Jahdae Barron, cornerback, Texas. With Jair Alexander's future uncertain and depth thin, Stokes a free agent, Nixon underwhelming, the secondary needs a lockdown corner. Barron, 26th overall, brings versatility, outside and slot experience, and ball skills, 5+ interceptions projected, I don't know why I keep saying that, to Hafley's vision-based single-high scheme. At 5'11", 195, with a likely 9+ RAS, he's a rangy, aggressive cornerback who'd complement Xavier McKinney's all-pro play. As for Gutekunst's tendencies, first-round caliber talent in round 2, like Alexander at 18, power 5, young, and premium position focus. Barron's athleticism aligns perfectly. Rationale, corner is critical if Alexander departs or stays injury-prone. Barron over Benjamin Morrison due to availability and Hafley's preference for press-capable DBs. Wide receivers like Trey Harris tempt here, but cornerback depth is more pressing post-Watson injury. Round 3, pick 87. Dante Thornton, wide receiver, Tennessee. Christian Watson's ACL tear out until mid-2025 leaves a void for a vertical threat in LaFleur's play-action, horizontal stretch offense. Thornton, not ranked top 100, but a riser, assumed 90 to 100 range, offers 6'5", 215-pound size and 4.4 speed, 9.5 plus RAS projection, to replicate Watson's deep role. His 2024 breakout fits LaFleur's need for explosive plays off Josh Jacobs' run game. As for Gutekunst's tendencies, he's in the SEC, he's young, elite athleticism, a day 2 wide receiver pick. Gutekunst often doubles down on receivers, and this addresses Watson's absence. Rationale, wide receiver urgency rises with Watson being sidelined. Thornton's size-speed combo over smaller options like Harold Fannin Jr. or Alec Ayamaner suits Love's arm strength and LaFleur's mismatch hunting. Interior defensive lineman like Jalen Walker is tempting, but wide receiver takes precedence. Round 4, pick 123, TJ Sanders, defensive lineman, South Carolina. Kenny Clark's 2024 regression, just 1 sack, and TJ Slayton's free agency expose interior defensive line depth issues. Sanders, ranked 64th overall, a 6'5", 305-pound 3-tech with twitch to penetrate in Hafley's single-gap 4-3 scheme. His disruption in 2024 bolsters a line that struggled to collapse pockets against mobile quarterbacks. He's an SEC player, athletic for his size, mid-round developmental bet like Devontae Wyatt in 2022. Not a first-rounder, but fits the tools-over-polish mold that Gutekunst loves. The rationale, interior defensive line depth, is a moderate need, and Sanders falling to round 4 is a steal. Edge options like Donovan Ezukaiku are gone, and offensive line depth can wait with Morgan and Monk on the roster. Round 5, pick 160, Luke Kandra, interior offensive lineman, Cincinnati. Josh Myers' free agency and Elton Jenkins' injury history demand interior offensive line depth for LaFleur's run-heavy play-action system. Kandra, who ranks 144th overall, a 6'4", 320-pound guard/center, brings versatility and power to a line that excelled in 2024 but faces 2026 turnover. He's a plug-and-play backup with starter potential. Gutekunst's tendencies, offensive line obsessed. He's had 13 picks since 2018. Power 5 adjacent, AAC, and mid-round value like Runyon and Tom. Kandra's youth, 22 years old, fits the developmental mold. Rationale, offensive line is a moderate need, and Kandra's availability at 160 beats waiting for slimmer pickings. Cornerbacks like Noel Williams are gone, and running backs, which were recently addressed with Lloyd, isn't exactly urgent. Round 6, pick 200. Jamon Dumas Johnson, linebacker out of Kentucky. Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper are set, but depth, McDuffie, Wilson free agents, faltered in coverage versus Philly. Dumas Johnson, 161 overall, a 6'1", 245-pound thumper with SEC roots, transferred from Georgia, fits Hafley's fast physical linebacker mold. His tackling prowess adds a special teams value. As for Goot tendencies, SEC pedigree, athletic, late-round depth pick like Hopper in 2024. He's a younger player at 2022, which aligns with his long-term bets. Rationale, low urgency need, but Dumas Johnson slid to 200 is too good to pass. Interior defensive line like J.J. Pegues or cornerbacks like Elijah Huzzy are options, but linebacker depth fits Hafley's 4-3 tweakability. Round 7, pick 239, Antoine Wells Jr., wide receiver, Mississippi. Doubling down on wide receiver post-Watson injury, Wells is a 6'1", 205 speedster who thrived at South Carolina before transferring. His 2024 rebound adds a shifty slot option to LaFleur's mesh and rub concepts, complementing Thornton's outside role. He's an SEC athletic late-round flyer like Marquez Valdez-Scantling in 2018, and doubling wide receiver echoes 2018 and 2022. Rationale, a luxury pick to bolster Love's weapons. Edge or cornerback depth could work, but Wells' value at 239 is a steal for a contending offense. And then finally, round 7, pick 251, Charles Grant, interior offensive line out of William & Mary. Depth behind Myers' exit and Jenkins' injury risk is a 6'4", 300-pound center/guard with small school polish. His slide to 251 reflects a deep interior offensive line class, but he's a LaFleur-friendly blocker for shotgun runs and play-action protection. Gutekunst, it fits with his tendencies for his offensive line focus, versatile offensive lineman, late-round gem like Zach Tom, kind of late round, I guess. Non-power 5 is rare, but Grant's traits outweigh conference bias. Rationale, offensive line depth is smart hedge for their incoming 2026 turnover. Kicker Andre Boreglis or safety Hunter Wohl tempt, but Grant's upside fits Gutekunst's offensive line fetish. In summary, round 1, James Pierce, edge. Round 2, Jahdae Barron, corner. Round 3, Dante Thornton, wide receiver, Watson's deep threat replacement. Round 4, TJ Sanders, interior defensive line behind Clark. Round 5, Luke Kandra, offensive line versatility for Myers' exit. Round 6, Jamon Dumas Johnson, linebacker depth for Hafley's scheme. Round 7, Antoine Wells Jr., wide receiver, slot weapon for Love. And then finally, round 7, Charles Grant, late offensive line value. This draft hits every need: edge, cornerback, wide receiver, interior defensive line, offensive line, and linebacker. It mirrors Gutekunst's love for athleticism, premium position, and Power 5 talent while tailoring to LaFleur's offense and Hafley's defense. The Packers emerge younger, deeper, and primed for 2025 Super Bowl push. I don't hate it. I think, James Pierce, the question would be, would he make it that long? Jahdae Barron, I've kind of already said what my piece is on him. And I think the biggest issue with that pick is that if he actually is the guy that they're saying he is, that he's a inside-outside type of guy, he's not going to make it to that point. He only really makes it if he kind of is seen as just a slot guy. I mean, it's not entirely true. I mean, Cooper DeJean fell into the second round. He absolutely shouldn't have, so who knows what could happen. But that's obviously my concern, is can he handle the boundary? Dante Thornton, I loved that pick. I thought it made absolutely perfect sense. Whether or not Grok is correct in its assessment, I don't know, but I love the pick and the rationale behind it. TJ Sanders, defensive line, makes sense. Got 2 interior offensive linemen. Another wide receiver, which I don't hate. I mean, I would hate to go early slot. Like I've said in the past, it kind of is an iffy thing. But adding another slot option in the later rounds that can not only compete for that spot, but also be there as, if something were to happen to Reed, et cetera, et cetera. You can bring him in different situations, whatever. I don't dislike that at all. And then addressing linebacker, as I said, early bothers me. 3rd or 4th and later, I'm okay with. He took a linebacker in the 6th, and makes sense, especially a guy that has special teams chops. I think it makes perfect sense for the situation that we're in. So I thought it was pretty good, man. I had to do a couple little tweaks because there were some gaps in information. So it knows things, but you have to kind of tell it what to know. You know what I mean? I think ideally AI will get to a point where it's able to bring in as much context as it needs. It didn't necessarily have the context that it needed. So, for example, it would say things like, Hafley's 3-4 scheme. And I'm like, well, good for knowing it's Hafley, but it's not Hafley. That it's not 3-4. So what I did is I separately went and I said, tell me about Jeff Hafley and his defensive scheme. And it gave me a very in-depth, very impressive breakdown. Of course, obviously it said 4-3. And then I did the same thing with Gutekunst. I did the same thing with Matt LaFleur. And then I just took all that data. I actually fed it the entire, from 1 to 300, the consensus big board. I gave it most recent picks because at one point I did a mock and it was pretty good, but it started doing running backs because, of A.J. Dillon. And I'm like, well, let's not forget recent mocks or recent drafts where we had guys like Marshawn Lloyd to address this as, it's already taken care of. So then I fed it that as well. So here is our offense, here is our defense, here's our GM's tendencies. Even though, again, it knows these things, it doesn't go and get all that context by itself. So I just told it to, here's the context, please take this into account. Offense, defense, our GM, our recent picks, our needs. I did add needs as well. I had it, again, you tell me what the needs are, and then I fed it back into it. And then here are the consensus rankings. And it handled all of it, seemingly. Sometimes you feed it a ton of information, and it just pretends to actually look at it, and it's too much information. But once I did that, it kind of did everything right, in my opinion. So it's pretty impressive, man. I like it. We'll get out of here, but I'm going to feed all of this data into the other AIs and see, number one, can it even handle this much data? And if it can, what the outputs would be. So anyways, I appreciate everybody for participating on the Facebook groups and whatnot. I got to try to remember to do that more often, be more interactive and whatnot. But I'm going to leave it at that. You guys have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.